part that I've learned through all of this, it doesn't matter what your job title it is, or all the accolades, or all the awards, or the different events you've gotten to go to. It's about the person that you are. And I think that's the other part too, is I'm just learning like, what legacy do I want to leave behind to be known for? It's how people feel.
Okay, you're going to make me cry. You're known as the unique connector. I
Mm-hmm.
really like that. And there are a lot of things that you do, so I'm going to let you explain all that. But go ahead and tell me how this all started. Where are you from, first of all?
I'm from Wisconsin. Grew up
Okay.
in Beloit, actually, and ended up here after college and finding my husband, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell me how your career path started. There's this thing I was trying to say during Stephanie's episode where it started and how it's going. And I couldn't think of the quote. And I'm like, what is that quote? Trying to figure it out. And then Laura said, don't cut that out. So I didn't cut it out. So I think Laura's voice is in there too, because Laura is graciously our in-kind sponsor who helps us with this location. And she helps us film because I can't run back and forth to the camera 900 times. So she's graciously helping with this. So she reminded me it was how it started and how it's going. So tell us how it all started.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go back to, out of college, well, even before that. So I was the super shy child growing up, like, wouldn't talk, would hide, would have my sister talk for me. Kind of had a lot of health issues, I guess you could say, with ulcers all growing up and kind of weird different situations where when college happened, I feel like that's where I kind of really learned a lot about myself. Worked at the university right even before school even started. So I kind of was thrown right into college right off the bat and met new friends and discovered the true Dawn, I guess, in a way, which I'm always still discovering myself. But then I worked on campus for 4 years and did that throughout the whole time I was there. And then I got a job in construction right out of college. So I was one of the one females in the construction office, and I was doing invoicing and payroll. And within the 4 years, I was doing logistics. I was helping with some of the staff and knowing where our crane operators were, where our cranes were, where our aerial rental units were. I worked in the parts department, the service department. Got to know a lot of our clients, and I just kept learning because that's what I love to do, is keep taking in the stuff. And there really wasn't a career path, I guess, for me there. I kept wanting to go out to the job sites. I wanted to be out in the job sites, understand why you needed that big tower crane. How can I keep learning? And being a female in that world, there wasn't too many females out there at that time. And so I took a drastic leap. Plus, I was driving way far away from where we lived and to get to that job every day. So I took a teller job to get my foot in the door in a bank in the town I lived in.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And so it was kind of crazy in the construction world. They're like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to be a teller. And they were like, what? Why are you leaving? But I just knew I had more and I knew I could move up in a different way in my career. So quickly on, the bank realized some different skills I had, and I moved into the executive wing, was doing a bunch of different things from accounts payable, shareholder services, kind of helping assist the vice president, the president, and got too efficient. So I was going down part-time, and wealth management had a random opening that they were thinking about. So I met with the head of the department and quickly, I went into wealth management. And that's really where my career really expanded, where I learned a ton, worked a ton, grew a ton. And that's what kind of was a pivotal moment of me realizing how much I loved connection with people. So as I said earlier, shy girl to becoming a unique connector. People got to know me for me, I was one that was all about building my Rolodex, learning, growing. I kind of had a health hiccup that ended up where I needed to close that chapter and switch gears. Worked for a client for a year and then opened my own business. So, kind of to give you a quick fast forward of, yeah, I've had a weird path.
No, not weird at all. Everything happens for a reason and everything leads to the next thing. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's weird at all. I love stories like that because we all have our version of that story, right?
Yeah.
Start in college, get that job, find out that it's not exactly what you want to do. So what do I want to do next? And you were very strategic
Yeah.
because you said, I'm going to get into banking because I know there's upward mobility. You didn't know you were going to get into wealth management, but isn't that perfect? So you're following your intuition,
Yeah.
following your gut. And so, okay, so from wealth management, what happened after that?
Yeah. Well, the pandemic happened. And I think that opened a lot of our eyes. And so it kind of helped me recognize all that I was doing in wealth management. Um, I had a health hiccup, actually, an ectopic pregnancy that ended up making me go to the hospital for a while because I couldn't dissolve the baby. And so while I was there, they thought I had a stroke. And so why I say that is because that was the time when I really reflected, like, who's the true Dawn? Because I was working very long hours. I was doing multiple roles, everything from sales all the way down to helping with ops at times, with events, networking, podcast hosts, all the things.
So this was while you were still in wealth management for that company.
Yes.
Okay, so you were spinning all those plates and now this health issue comes up.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
So,
it comes to a point where what is happening with my life? What's the most important?
yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're under so much stress and working so much because that's what I do. I was working and nonstop. And so I knew in my heart and for my family is I had to close that chapter. I had to figure out life and figure out myself. So I went and worked for a client for a year. Didn't know anything about that industry. And that's kind of the one thing that I've recognized of myself through this whole process is I go with my intuition and if I think it's right, what can I learn from it? And
Right.
so I did that for a year. And two, mind you, before even the pandemic, well, actually during the pandemic, I started leading a women's organization, the Dames.
Yes.
So I also had that. And so I was leading the Dames, left my career and went to a whole new career. And during that time, I was just recognizing skills and strengths that I think I was overlooking and didn't really think they were strengths or skills that I just assumed everybody had. And so through that, it was just something was kind of changing and I just didn't feel in my heart it was right. I think I got a clearer intuition through that whole process of being in the hospital to this isn't the direction I want to go. And so I had deep conversations with my husband and I left and I didn't have a full out plan, but I just knew I needed to leave and start my own business or to focus more on my family.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Unique Connector was already creative because of Dames. But
Okay.
then I'm like, okay, I'm going to lean into this and I'm actually going to do this.
Okay. Yeah, that is a brave leap of faith, literally, because it's scary, especially when you didn't have it planned. You just knew you needed to make a change and your health was suffering. Work-life balance was probably out the window.
Yeah.
And you were being called to do something more and bigger with that little seed.
Yeah.
And so you had a unique connector going already. And so how did you start to grow that? What were the first things? If there's someone out there that wants to start their service, their business, and they're really not sure, what were the steps? Did you have a specific, I don't know if you said you didn't have a specific plan, but did you start? I know you had the podcast.
Yeah.
So did you start with the podcast or did you start by promoting your services?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I took some time to just be a little bit. I was recognizing what habits I had created of myself, what workaholicness I had, what stuff I didn't really recognize I was doing.
Wow.
So I was like in this zone of, yep, I got to go back and sit at my desk. Yes, this is what I do. And so it was time of me just recognizing what is it that I've been doing, like on auto, like I didn't even recognize I was doing.
Mm,
Because I would wake up at 5 in the morning and I would instantly just start working. And that's kind of how my brain was. And
sure.
so through this whole process, it's been, as I like to say, tests for Dawn. How is Dawn going to learn from this? What is that I'm going to learn and grow in these different opportunities? And so I was kind of taking time and reflecting and being more present with my family, which was a different thing for me. But then also, too, I was reaching out to some of my network that I just knew would kind of understand where I was at. And so, yeah, I kind of started taking some clients on, coaching behind the scenes, which I still do. And then it's kind of just evolved, like the podcast as an example. So I was a podcast host when I was in wealth management.
I remember you being one of the first I saw on LinkedIn that I knew in our network, our local community,
Yeah.
with a podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like you were one of the first, to lead the pack with that.
Well, I giggle because I was not even supposed to be on the podcast, to be honest. My coworker, who was an attorney, she was going to be the host. And I was going to be behind the scenes because I was doing marketing and events too for wealth management. And I was going to get all the guests on the show and kind of help behind the scenes. And one day we did a practice episode with me. And then the team was like, I think you need to be on the show too. So her and I did it together and it was fun. But also, too, I felt that I had a mask on or, they cut things out too because ums or the natural sometimes was lost a little bit in the process. I felt personally. And so when I did my podcast, I just knew in my heart I needed to use my voice.
Mm,
I want it to be natural.
mm-hmm.
And so like people are always asking me about it and I'm like, you know what? It's raw audio.
Yeah.
I don't edit it. I don't do this. I don't cookie cutter it. Like I just want it to be. And so some of the stuff too, I think through this whole process is I've just understood more about my values and understood what type of person I am and just recognize two things that maybe our society makes or like influences us of how we got to be or show up.
Yeah, how things are supposed to be. That's what I love about people who are able to create their own content because you can do it however you want. And there's no, I'm telling this more and more. I'm saying this more and more that you can do it however you want.
Yeah.
You can record on Zoom with a webcam, get a microphone, record at your desk. It's your thing. It's your content. You can do it however you want. If it reflects your true personality, if it reflects how you like to work, and if it's going to be able, and if it's going to help you to get that content out there, then get it out there. And I know there are so many different ways to do it. There's so many different ways to do video. I have 3 cameras set up and I don't have to, but I'm choosing to do it because it's helping me to stay strong with my skills.
Yeah.
Because I know it's easier if I would like to stay at home, do it over Zoom sometimes, but I'm forcing myself to get uncomfortable or to do, a little bit more because I know that's what I want to do for my work. But it all works for everyone because the message is what's most important. People working the way they want to work is most important now, especially because we have these tools. We have all these things that we can take advantage of now that never existed before that we didn't have, and we can get it out.
Yeah.
So good for you for not kind of conforming to what people say, oh, it should be, you should take out all the ums, use that software. I mean, I do professional podcasts for other businesses, and that's what they want. They want
Yes.
certain things cut, they want certain, and that's great. That's their right?
Yeah.
So that's not easy to go out there and do it in a way that's raw and real. But I think now people appreciate that so much because it gives everybody else permission to say, look, what do they say? 80% out the door or 80% done instead of 100% perfect, because I know I'm that way about myself. And I'm putting my content out there thinking, oh, it's not perfect. It's not good enough. No, just put it out there because whoever it's meant to reach, whoever you're meant to serve,
Yeah.
That's what's the most important. So good on you for taking that lead.
Well, and you brought up a bunch of points of that kind of too of like why do it. Doesn't mean it's like exactly up to Dawn's standards, let's just say. Or my perfectionist would be like, no, not good enough. But it's almost been too testing me that it's like, yeah, you got to just do it. Who cares if it's not perfect? Whatever, you could always delete it later. And that's kind of what I tell myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part too is so many of us, and I know of even myself, is we hold back and we keep telling us the things, or we let society tell us we got to do it this certain way, or that's never going to be successful this way. And sometimes we got to be the person that's going the wrong way to help inspire other people to do it too.
Exactly. I love that so much. Yeah. We're so connected in so many ways that everything goes now. I feel like anything goes. I mean, look at all the content that's out there. Really, you literally can do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's the type of life we all should be living now, instead of worrying about what someone else thinks. And I'm saying this to myself because Laura is looking at me from behind the camera. I criticize myself. I force myself to do this because I'm talking about visible women. This whole point of this is women who are staying visible online so they can share their message, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when we're going through stuff, because everybody's going through something. And so I'm trying to walk my own talk, saying, you know what, Faith, you're very self-critical. You're a perfectionist for yourself, not for other people, but for yourself. You have to do this to get out of your own way, because it's not easy for me. I'm laughing because Laura is sending me signals. This is not easy for me to do, but I love it because it helps me to get out of my own way, and it also helps me to relate to other people who are having difficulty. And so I admire, yes, this is mainly just for women. It's called Visible Women, but I admire every woman who's doing the thing and putting their content out there and coaching and helping someone else to reach their potential, because we have so much more that we can do, but we hold ourselves back. And so, so you're coaching. So Unique Connector is a combination of, I love how on your LinkedIn profile, I think the headline is the magic bullet. Is that what it says?
Right now it's the Midas touch.
Oh, the Midas touch. I'm sorry.
No.
The Midas touch for businesses, because I remember you starting when you were putting out events for people to just come and connect.
Yeah.
Just get used to connecting in person and get used to networking, because I think for many people that's really uncomfortable. So tell me about that. Tell me about how you started those events, and if you can share like 2 or 3 tips for anybody who feels uncomfortable networking, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, I would say I always try and tell people learn from Dawn's mistakes of what she did. And I've been at all the different big events. Like, I'm thankful for all those opportunities that I was able to go in different circles, go to different events, host events over the years. And as I said earlier, shy girl to being a connector, what I realized is I love helping people connect. And especially after this pandemic, so many people are uncomfortable. They're losing that connection with people. Relationships deep down are the most important thing, with technology and all the things changing all the time. And not saying that I'm the one that feels the most comfortable to go to a big event all the time. Like, I still have moments. And I think it's just a reminder to all of us is we're going to have seasons. We're going to have moments when we're feeling comfortable, when we're uncomfortable. Or sometimes we got to try new things because it inspires ourselves. Like how you were even saying earlier, you're going to listen back to this, and I'm going to listen back to it to remind myself like the greatness that we have, because sometimes we're going to doubt ourselves. And so a couple things that I always like to tell people when it comes to networking, because I keep getting asked to present on this, and I deep down too, I'm like, am I really a networking expert? Because I still get uncomfortable. But it's just too, we got to remind ourselves, what do we need to show up as our best selves to go into rooms? So a couple different things that I always kind of like to tell people is figure out what works for you. But like, are you the type that only likes to do virtual? Then do virtual. Who cares? Like, if you can't go to all the other events, go to virtual events that are maybe big and you can meet different people. Or are you the type that does maybe for your job, you have to go to these big rooms and it's kind of flustering for you. Or maybe you're selling something that doesn't really align with you. You know, you might have profitability quotes that you're trying to get to, and that can be shown sometimes. So I always try and like, what's the purpose and what can you gain from that opportunity? What's a goal that you can have for yourself, not only for maybe the business that you work for, but I always like to tell people to be really intentional and be very, don't put yourself up for too big of goals when it goes to networking. Do some minor things. You know, is it seeing someone's over there by themselves? Go make their day and check
Oh,
in on them.
oh, that's a great way to put it. I like that.
You never know what they're going through
Yeah.
or who they know or what they do. Like, be curious. That's what I always try and tell people is be curious.
Mm.
Try and learn from that person. Why are
Mm-hmm.
you here? What makes you come to these events? What other events do you go to? It's a great way to learn why they're going and what other things are not on your radar. And then I always like to tell people too is like, if you get really flustered and it's uncomfortable for you, have a list of random questions of things you want, like on a laminator card or in your phone, and prepare yourself. Like, read them out loud.
Yeah.
And I know it might sound silly, but sometimes I have to do that for myself to get in the zone because we have all these things going on outside of our job or what we're doing for a business that sometimes can throw us off. And then too, I'm always like, as I say, figure out what works best for you. Is it in person, virtual, and then come up with questions. And then also too, how are you going to follow up with the people? Kind of have a thought before you go into the room. I mean, I know even for myself sometimes too, I fail at that because you fill up your calendar with meetings or clients and it's like, but like have time on your calendar so you can actually follow up with these people. It's not just about handing out your business card, but like what moments did you get or tidbits that you can be like, hey, how was your child's game that you went to? Or how's that surgery you were going to? Like, show that you care about people.
That's really, really good. It's easy to forget the follow-up.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that now because you said that, because I'm guilty of that. Because you just go on to the next thing on your list.
Yes.
All the things you have to take care of. And that event happened a week ago, and oh, I never messaged that person back. And we had a really nice conversation. And now you're losing that connection. It's, dwindling as time goes on.
Yeah.
That reminded me of, there was one day where I did not feel like getting out of the house. And I didn't feel like going to a chamber meeting. And I said, I should go. I should go. I don't feel like it, but and I told myself, okay, what is my intention? If I just go and meet one new person, just to meet one new person, then goal accomplished. I'm not going to try to sell my services. I'm not trying to meet the entire room. I'm just going to show up and just be there. And you never know. And I went, and it was so interesting that out of everybody sitting at the table, I connected with one woman, really didn't try. I just wanted to explain, oh, this is what I do. If you ever need any help. She ended up connecting me with a presentation opportunity for UW Madison, which that wasn't even on my radar. And they invited me to do a 2-hour presentation for them. And things happen when you least expect it. And the other thing that I tell myself too is taking the attention off of ourselves and who's in front of me and how can I help them? Who can I serve and how can I serve them?
Yeah.
And taking all that pressure off of ourselves to try to sell ourselves or to sell our services, really making it about the other person and really being present and just getting to know them, because the long-term relationship is what works and what matters in the end. You never know what something is going to lead to 5 years down the road. I mean, I have a relationship with people that I've known for years, and we're all in completely different industries now. So I think that's really good when you emphasize focusing on the follow-up, because that is the relationship building that matters.
Yeah. And right there, what you just said too is you never know from 5 years. You never know what job you're going to be in. You never know what someone else will be in. But deep down, how is it that you left? Like that person feeling and connecting. And
Exactly.
trust me, I've made mistakes over the times of like trying new things or things that people tell you got to try and do, but really you got to find what works for you and show up as you as the person, because that's what's going to be remembered. And then too, deep down, it's the connection that you have with the person. It's not about what they sell or where they work. It's
Right.
the human.
Yeah. It's the person behind the business, I always say. When I look at someone's website, I immediately go to the about section of someone's website if it's a larger business. It's like, okay, the business looks great. They obviously are great at what they do. You know, that's a no-brainer. But who are the people that are running the business? Who do I want to do business with? Who do I want to align myself with? Yeah, it always comes down to that. And who are we going to remember when the need comes up?
Yeah.
When someone needs what you have to offer, are they going to remember you? Are you going to be top of mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that comes down to you staying true to what's important to you, your values, your integrity, you as a person. You represent your family, you represent your children. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good.
You know, it's easier said than done too sometimes. I think that's the part too, is to embrace the journey. And the one thing that I've learned is I've tested myself with different things to see if Dawn could stop working at times or to just be a mom. And, you know, that it's all learning. It's all learning. And that's what I always have to tell that to myself and give myself grace. And I think other people need that too, is you can try things and it doesn't mean it has to be forever.
Yes, good reminder. Yeah,
Or to try
you're
a
just
path.
trying something, try it.
Yeah.
And if it's not working, make a new choice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. It gives yourself permission, let yourself off the hook instead of pushing or trying to make something fit. Your work ethic is clearly really strong. When you're saying, you know, all the things you were doing for your job, and then it led to a health crisis where you said, okay, let's reshuffle these priorities because work is great, but this is more important. You brought me back to where I was about 8 to 10 years ago when I was working for a company. And I'm the kind of person that if I'm working for a business, especially if it's locally owned, I love the owners and I want to do everything I can to support them. So I was always putting that first, and I was always putting my own needs on the back burner. So I'm the one who missed half of our dinners with my stepson and my husband because I was working so much. I can't get those dinners back now. He's 21 now. I can't go back to when he was 7 or 8. And, you know, working 40 to 60 hours and putting all your skills and all your talent and all your energy, wanting to help that business, wanting to do well in that work, but you're the one who's suffering in the end, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when I started my video service, when people started asking me for help. And that's why I named it Live Well, because I said, I want to live well. So I'm going to go in this direction, and maybe I can create something that's still supporting business owners in a different way because they were asking for that help. But can I do it in a way where I have more work-life balance? And so that was a pivotal time for me too, where I'm so sorry you were hospitalized. That is horrible. But I think a lot of people can relate to finding what works for us now and not compromising anymore because we have tools that, you know, even though the pandemic was horrible, now we have Zoom and we can do business around the world in a way that we never could have before. So that brings me to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because the combination of you with the unique connector, and I want to talk about the dames as well, going on LinkedIn, networking on LinkedIn, you're part of LinkedIn Local for Madison. And so you're really great with the other 2 women that you run it with. What's the number one focus you have for a unique connector right now?
Well, everybody knows me for events,
Okay.
but it's behind the scenes. I'm coaching and consulting.
Okay.
And when it comes to my coaching and consulting, I see all the puzzle pieces. People come to me for networking, and then in the end, or networking or building connection with their team. And through that process, then I see all the puzzle pieces and all the things. And then I'm kind of like, okay, well, I see a little bit of strategy over here you need for networking in LinkedIn. Okay, over here, I see a little bit of team bonding you need.
Oh.
Or, oh, your team is maybe not trained a little bit. They need a little bit more training so they can best show up for you when they're out at an event. Are they actually great salesmen for you, or like a face that you want out at a business event for you? So that's the part for me through this process, is I've just recognized that I can build connection quickly with people and kind of be a safe zone where I hear all the things, but maybe they're not telling me everything. And I can almost like get the intuition and see where the gaps are in the business.
That's great. That's a huge value.
Yeah. But I think sometimes it's, even what we were saying earlier, sometimes it's hard to show up differently. And how do you explain that sometimes to people until they experience it? And I think even for me through this process is been hesitant to show up as the Dawn sometimes, to be honest, or to promote my business or my services. And so sometimes I'm going to be honest, is I kind of hide behind some of these events sometimes. And this is where I feel like lately I've been putting my big girl pants on, where things are changing, things are evolving even for Dawn and the business. And, it's just, I recognize the things maybe I do sometimes to people please or to really support other people. And then it's where's the boundaries. And so I feel like all the things I do, like I said earlier, is testing myself to understand more how I can be a great business owner, but also be a great mom, a great wife at home. And so all of the pieces I'm working on even for myself, because I can see it so easily for everybody else in their business.
I can totally relate to that. And I think that is so real and raw. And I think that is such an experience that a lot of people have. That just shows, first of all, your humility and that you have skills and value that can really help other people. And you're not putting yourself first. You're putting other people's needs first. And you're humble. And I think, I don't even know how to put this. I think that's a wonderful quality about you because, yeah, you can see, I'm the same way where I feel like I can see the value and the skills that people bring to the table. But you hesitate to, because you don't want to be what do they say, showboat. You don't want to be a show off. You don't want to be egotistical. You don't want to do the look at me thing. We were just talking about this earlier on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a place where you want to show your accolades, you want to show your accomplishments, you want to show the value that you bring to either your clients or your business. But there's a line to do it in a way that's not so self-serving that it's off-putting.
Yeah.
Right. So I completely understand that hesitancy, but I want to say, as you're a cheerleader, you're not going to do that. You're not going to be a showboat. You're not going to be like, to call yourself a coach. You are a coach because you're helping someone, you're coaching someone through a process, you're offering the 30,000 foot view of how that can be helpful. And if someone has already asked you for that kind of help, then you've earned that title of coach, And I've had people say, how can so-and-so call them a coach? How can so-and-so call themselves a coach if they're not certified in coaching? They didn't get a certificate in coaching. And I completely respect the people who have those certifications. And I also know people who don't have the piece of paper, who have provided tons of value through a coaching process to help people find their own answers. Instead of telling someone what to do, they help lead them to the answers themselves. That's a coach too. And they're both valuable, and they're both serving the people who want to pay for that service in the way that they provide it. And I can think of two people, one who has the paper and one who does it, and they're both wonderful.
Yeah.
And they both have their share of people who value and appreciate and are so thankful for what they do. And so I have to talk to myself in that way too. When I put a label, like on LinkedIn, if I use a certain word, I am this or I do this, you can use those terms if it already has provided value and you have that kind of qualification. Yes, is the word. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
LinkedIn is, a whole other world in that way.
It is.
And I think no matter what, the way we put ourselves out there, someone will always have something to say about it, right? There's always going to be somebody who may criticize or just wants to burst your bubble or not see you succeed. And so I think if we're trying to avoid that, that's impossible. Someone will always have their perception of you that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And so that's why I celebrate people who are staying visible. Just stay visible. Use the word, use the term if you need to. Because in the end, it's going to lead you to where you're supposed to be. You're going to lead yourself to where you're supposed to be. And I think if you have that kind of nudging, that intuition, that calling, it's there for a reason. Follow it. It's amazing if you just trust what's already in your gut and in your head.
Yeah.
and don't let the outside noise affect it. And I'm saying this to myself just as much as I'm saying it to anybody else, because I have to remind myself about that every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Every day. I was just telling Laura, I had a terrible day yesterday because I spent all day criticizing myself in my head. And my poor husband came home. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Nope. I don't even want to give out candy for Halloween today."
Oh.
But I did. And I got out of my way, and I got over myself. But like you said, we have the moments. There's moments.
Well, I think that's too. It's a reminder. We all have moments, and maybe our society or the social media has made it seem like everybody's on their A game 24/7. But it's okay that we all have down moments. We all have moments of doubt. We always have moments too of nervousness or, oh, gosh, this is a big risk. But the one thing too I've learned about myself is sometimes take that moment to be in it, write about it. What's going on? What's in your head? What stories am I telling myself? And I get it out and then I sleep on it. And I think that's been too, I've had to teach myself, what do I need for mechanisms to get me to show up as the best person the next day? Because no matter what, we're all going to have moments. And I think that's the part too is, you know, to go back to even what you were saying before that is people are going to give you advice. People are going to suggest all these things. And as my coach, who I've had for years, Nancy Kelso, she has said, like, advice has worked for somebody. Doesn't mean it has to work for you. And I always have to remind myself that because I think that's what the society that we have right now. It's like we're never good enough. And I always have to keep reminding myself that. And I just need to keep going with what my gut is telling me and to take pivots and to learn why even the word coaching has sometimes been weird for me is because of what other people have said about coaching. So I've been hesitant with that. Maybe more of an advisor than that or a strategic, person. So I think that's the part too is what I've been doing is being more vulnerable and being the actual authentic Dawn, even though I know those words are used more often. But I've been learning more about myself and just trying to be me, which is not easy too.
And that is exactly, I think, what everyone is going through. And it's so refreshing to hear people actually say it out loud because they say, "Oh, she's going through that too. I thought I was the only one. She feels that way. I thought I was the only one." It just looks so polished online, all the highlight reels online, all the accolades and all the accomplishments that someone's posting. We didn't know how much we suffered the last 2 years to get to this one moment. So being able to talk about it is so valuable and so appreciated.
I think deep down, take moments to connect with people. Take the time to reach out and check in on people. And I think the part that I've learned through all of this, it doesn't matter what your job title is or all the accolades or all the awards or the different events you've gotten to go to. It's about the person that you are. And I think that's the other part too, is I'm just learning like, what legacy do I want to leave behind to be known for? It's how people feel.
Okay, you're going to make me cry.
I know. I'm like, ooh. But like, I think that's the part even for me of like motherhood. Like I've noticed my son is my barometer to brake check me well, Dawn's doing stuff because maybe other people are telling her she should do it that way, or my husband too. And I think through this whole process, I've just learned more about myself that I've maybe like even with childhood avoided because it wasn't how you fit in. Like I've realized, wow, I am that tomboy girl who loves risk taking and doing crazy things and being with my boys. That's what I need. But also too, I love helping other people and being strategic and growing. And I think that's okay to have different things that fuel us. And
Absolutely.
it's different than what everybody else wants you to be.
And that's the freedom. That's the freedom. Say, you know what? Because next thing you know, you're going to be 70 years old.
Yeah.
And you're going to look back. We have to do it now.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point in my age too. I'm like, wait, how old am I now? Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm 31. Oh, there are things that I need to do for myself because the legacy, your family, what you told yourself you wanted to do. It's so inspiring. And I remember you posted, I can't remember where I saw it, which social media platform, but you said, oh, and it was also an email. I'm spending time with I'm spending time with my son right now. And I said, that is so nice, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody post that like that or have it in an email. Thank you for your email. I'm taking the rest of the day because I have XYZ with my son.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Yeah. Which is too way big change for me. Like, not to be, but I was like, I've just realized how much the little things that bring me joy fuel me to be creative in my own business or just to keep showing as the person that I want to be. So I have been very intentional about that and been more vocal about that too. I'm not going to shy away from that. And I think it's also taught me to have better boundaries about stuff with business because I have let people over the years take advantage of me or, you know, use me. And I'm not good at saying no sometimes. And so this is the part too for me that I've been really intentional because, like you said earlier, they're only little for so long, and I already missed a lot of his childhood. So
What the age?
he's 9 now.
Yeah.
So
It goes by so fast.
yeah,
So fast. I can't get those dinners back. My stepson is 21 now. He's out in the world. He's loving his life, doing his calling. And I wish we could sit around the table back then.
yeah. But then it also makes me reflect too of different things that I've been doing for me because I want to show up as the best mom for him or the best wife. So like I've been doing lots of physical things like in the morning and like for me, like doing yoga, but then also too like I'm doing a Cuba trip with a bunch of females.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, which it took me a bit to say yes to that because I love adventure with my boys. So how could I go on a trip without them to Cuba? How many times do you get to go to Cuba?
Right. You want to experience that with your family.
Yes.
Any kind of trip like that.
You want to do that. But then I had to also have a break check, and I've been doing this often too, is I want to show my son that I'm independent female too. Like I hope he finds a woman that will do things and not have to like, I don't want to say like family is the clutch and you can't do things without them. Like you need to be you too. And so that's where I'm like, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to experience it. I'm going to bring other women with me and we'll see what happens and give back and do good and also experience the world. So I've been noticing that too of myself, that I've been doing things intentionally and strategically for me to also demonstrate to him that this isn't just a side hustle business. Because he said that to me one day, like, oh, this isn't this for fun. And I think that was the other thing too, is like, nope, this is a business, buddy. So I try and instill different things to teach him.
Good for you. Yeah. Because that will stick with him. He might not remember it next year, but he'll remember it when he's an adult. It'll come up in his memories and his perception of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. Okay. So when is that trip? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's in January. So Laura Erickson, she's a cool female. Ashley Quinton Powell went on a trip with her last year to Morocco. And so I was just like, who is this Laura girl? I need to know who she is. And getting to know her and learn about her past and just too how she left her career because she's like, I want to travel the world and I want more people to see the world. And I want you to have a better interpretation of the world too, of places that maybe people don't go to.
Oh.
So she's very intentional about her trips and where she takes people. And so we had some deep conversations and I'm like, let's do it. So we're going to Cuba. I'm helping fill the 12 spots that we're guaranteeing the Cuban community. So we're going and she plans all of it. And
so you're spearheading this trip.
yeah, I'm spearheading it to bring women together. And it's been so interesting who has said yes to it. And just like a friend from Dallas, I've been friends with her for years. We've never even met each other in person. And now we finally get to hug in Cuba.
Wow.
And so some other women too that are coming, you know, I haven't known them that long. So I think it's going to be the adventure too, to be curious and learn from each other and see what comes out of it. So Laura says it always seems to be transformational for people. So I'm excited to kind of see what comes out of it, what relationships will build, deeper bonds, but also just to experience the world. We have chauffeurs, we have like we're going cigar rolling, and we're going to give back to the community and do these fun different things where, I don't know, but why not? Life's too short to
That
not
is
try.
so good. You're totally following your intuition and your gut with that. Okay. All right. So find Dawn. What is your website?
Uniqueconnector.com.
Okay. Find her on LinkedIn. If you're local to Madison, find her at an event. And thank you for sharing all that. That was,
Thank you for having me.
of course, just a great reminder to check in on yourself. What do you need? How can you fill up your own cup so that you can be out there and help others, and really paying attention to that self-care. So
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're the biggest asset right here is yourself.
yeah,
So
thank you
never
for that
show.
reminder.
Yeah. So thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. Thank you for being here. This was really inspiring for me. I needed this by the end of this week. And we will see you at the next one.